So the great thing about being a YouTuber is that you all of a sudden develop this ability to predict the future. And I, once again, predicted the future when just a couple of weeks ago, I put out a video that said Charlie's Angels, bigger bomb than Terminator Dark Fate. And I was right, but then I was also sort of wrong. And I'll tell you exactly what I mean. But first, let's take a look at how big of a bomb this really is. So, we're going to Deadline. And before we do anything, Avengers Endgame is being pushed very hard for Best Picture. Think about that. Okay, how Charlie's Angels fell from grace at the box office with an $8 million opening. Jeez. $8 million. Nobody wanted this movie. Nobody cared about this movie. There was no excitement going into this movie. And the proof is right there in $8 million. In the wake of Terminator Dark Fate's failure at the box office, you know, some people wouldn't call it Terminator Dark Fate. They'd call it Terminator Woke Fate. Failure at the box office and Paramount's recent decision to make Beverly Hills... What the hell is Beverly Cops? Isn't it supposed to be Beverly Hills Cop? Beverly Hills Cop. Whatever. For Netflix, we have a further breakdown of cinema IP in Sony's Charlie's Angels reboot, which is tanking with a god-awful $8.2 million opening. 3 stars on Screen Engine ComScore's Post Track and B+ Cinema Score. I would have never thunk it. I mean, it had everything. It had the star power of Kristen Stewart. It had the genius and acumen of Elizabeth Banks. The Elizabeth Banks directed, written, and produced. I still can't get over the fact that she literally wrote it, directed it, and produced it. How did she manage to get that done? Amazing. It's also opening in 27 offshore markets, and to no one's surprise, China being one where it is also bombing. With a $6 million two-day take in second place behind local title Somewhere Winter, which did $8.8 million. You know, I'm noticing that a lot now too. The local stuff is starting to gain a lot more popularity in China as far as when it goes up against this American stuff. The Chinese have sort of for the past few years been pushing away from American stuff, and so Hollywood banking on China being that next big market might be a mistake. All of this primes to further spur a what the F reaction and anxiety among film development executives in town in regards to what the hell exactly works in this have and have not era of the theatrical marketplace. This is stupid because this is their problem. They know exactly what was wrong with this movie, but they refuse to accept it. Number one, the trailers started from the very beginning demonstrating a sort of woke feminist agenda. And I'm not saying anything about woke culture. This is not what this video is about. I'm just simply stating the facts. The video itself, the trailer was 100% wokeified. And what happened after that was, I don't think people were really interested in seeing something like that. Take the second thing, what was shown, it wasn't humorous. It wasn't, the action didn't seem like it was that creative or different. No one wants to watch a 120-pound woman beat up 5 guys, hence why no one's watching Batwoman. It's like, duh. Like, I mean, nobody wants to see that. I think the casting was horrible in this one. And the previous Charlie's Angels, the 2 iterations, the women of the Charlie's Angel looked like women. Drew Barrymore looked like a woman. When I say woman, I mean like grown, you know, like she's not like a teenager, you know. And these girls, the only one that sort of looks like, you know, she's like a woman, like an actual woman, is the one in the middle. But the other two, I mean, Kristen Stewart, no disrespect to Kristen Stewart. She's just not there. She's not there. She doesn't look that great. The other girl, she's a pretty girl, whatever, but she looks like a little kid. You compare that to the other Charlie's Angels, and you're just like, I don't even know. It's not even close. Cameron Diaz was something else. Lucy Liu was something else. Drew Barrymore is still something else. I still dig her. I always will. But they don't seem to get it. They don't get it. And until they can admit to themselves that they know what the problem is and they want to move forward, they're going to keep having things just like this. They're going to have the failure that is Batwoman. They're going to have the failure that is this Charlie's Angels. The failure that is Terminator Dark Fate. Look what won the weekend. Ford versus Ferrari won the weekend. Come on, guys. And you know what was Ford versus Ferrari wasn't? It was not woke. It was about freaking Ford doing something with cars. I didn't even watch the movie. Look at that. 30 plus million. Overperformed. Crazy. Let's see what Elizabeth Banks thinks about what's going on. Let's switch this over a little bit. Let's move over to Elizabeth Banks responding to Charlie's Angels reboot criticism. You've had 37 Spider-Man movies. That's her response. You know why you've had 37 Spider-Man movies? I'll tell you right now why you've had 37 Spider-Man movies. Number one, you shouldn't have had 37 Spider-Man movies. They kept rebooting the thing, but they didn't have to. All right. Number two, to compare a Spider-Man movie to any of the Charlie's Angels is ridiculously naive. Charlie's Angels was not as big as Spider-Man was. Spider-Man, Spider-Man 2, and Spider-Man 3, the Tobey Maguire ones, were huge. Changed the culture. Changed the way we consume cinema as a whole. And that's all Sony had was Spider-Man for a while there. So when they rebooted it with The Amazing Spider-Man, I'll tell you this much. The Amazing Spider-Man made more money than this movie did. This $50 million movie. And there's a little clue right there on what I meant earlier about that I was wrong. But let's go here to Elizabeth Banks. In the age of reboots, revivals, and sequels, Elizabeth Banks wants to know why people are criticizing her for creating another chapter in the Charlie's Angels franchise. The reason they're criticizing her is because nobody wanted it. Like, you know, just like nobody wanted that 2016 Ghostbusters reboot. They didn't want it. They didn't want it in that iteration. They wanted actual Ghostbusters 3. Nobody wanted this. Nobody was clamoring for it. And then once they actually start to see what was coming out, when you had the chance to win them over and show them why they wanted it, you gave them wokeified Kristen Stewart and an agenda movie. That's what you gave them. So then what do you expect? What do you expect? See, Charlie's Angels writer director star responding to the criticism she's been facing for being a franchise with Kristen Stewart, Ella Balinska, and Naomi Scott. You've had 37 Spider-Man movies and you're not complaining. I think women are allowed to have 1 or 2 action franchises every 17 years. I feel totally fine with that, except that is totally wrong. Elizabeth Banks is cuckoo. Captain Marvel just came out. That's a superhero action franchise. Wonder Woman just came out. That's a superhero action franchise. You literally had Terminator Dark Fate, that movie was being led by a woman. And if you just go by what they consider as canon now in the Terminator, each one of those movies was focused on a woman. She was the lead. She was the lead in the first one, the second one, and the third one. Was she really the lead in the second one? I think John was more the lead in the second one, but it's okay. But she totally misses the point of why people didn't want it. She totally did. She didn't There's no market for it. There's just no market for it. So stop doing it. Stop with the Batwomans. Stop with the Charlie's Angels. There's no market. Spend that money creating great stories. If you want to have great female characters, leading franchises, build them from the ground up. Just start and do it the right way. Do it without agenda. Do it with the idea that I want to make a great movie and I want to tell a great story. And I guarantee you that these things will flip around. 110%. But anywho, why was I wrong? I'm going to tell you why I was wrong. When I made that video earlier this week, I said that this movie would be a bigger bomb than Terminator Dark Fate. I was wrong. And the reason why I was wrong was very simple. This movie only cost $50 million to make, which is very, very cheap in this day and age. Whereas Terminator Dark Fate cost almost $150 million, if not a little bit more than that. That's not counting, all the costs that it took to promote it and all that good stuff. But then that's also not taking into account any tie-ins and stuff like with Xbox and stuff like that, where they got money for that. So here's the thing here. It would be impossible for this movie to bomb more than Terminator Dark Fate, because Terminator Dark Fate will literally lose more money than this movie cost almost 3 times over. So there you go. Elizabeth Banks, you got one saving grace. You will not be a bigger bomb than Terminator Dark Fate simply because you were more conservative with your budget. Congratulations. I hope the very best, and I hope that you get down on the drawing board, create something else, and get the agenda out of your life. Guys, if you like this channel, please like, share, and subscribe. If you want agenda out of your life, then like, share, and subscribe. I should make that a goddamn t-shirt. Agenda out of your life. Have a great one.